day, class! How are you today? Wow! It seems that all of you are feeling great. By the way, I am Marjorie Francisco, your teacher in Science 5. Before we're going to our new lesson, let us first have a game. This game is called You've Got My History, wherein I will show you pictures of flowers with indicated name and then place its name where it belongs, whether unisexual or bisexual flowers. We have white mulberry, lily, birch, sunflower, tulip, pine, rose, and coconut flowers. Where does the white mulberry belong? If your answer is in unisexual flowers, then you are correct. Where does the rose belong? If your answer is in bisexual flowers, then you are correct. Where does the birch belong? If your answer is unisexual flowers, then you are correct. Where does the sunflower belong? If your answer is in bisexual flowers, then you are correct. Where does the pine belong? If your answer is in unisexual flowers, then you are correct. Where does the tulip belong? If your answer is in bisexual flowers, then you are correct. Where does the coconut flowers belong? If your answer is in unisexual flowers, then you are correct. Last, where does the lily belong? If your answer is in bisexual flowers, then you are correct. Did you get the perfect score? If yes, good job! Okay, in this lesson, we're tackling about the sexual reproduction in plants. There are two types of plant reproduction, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. For today, we must focus first in sexual reproduction. Where does sexual reproduction take place? Reproduction takes place in the flower. But before with that, let me first discuss to you the parts and its function. This is the petal and sepal. They protect the flower bud. It depends on flower, the petals have different size, shape, color, and smell. This is the receptacle and stem. They connect the flower to the rest of the plant. This part is called stamen. This is the male part of the flower. It consists of the anther and the filament. Carpel or pistil. This is the female part of the flower. It consists of stigma, style, and ovary, wherein the egg cells are found inside the ovule that fertilize the egg cells. So now, flowers who have stamen and carpel are called bisexual flower. The flower that has only reproductive parts, either stamens or carpels, are called unisexual flowers. The example of this is corn, because it has a female flower and male flower that are separated. Now that we already know the parts and the function of flowers, then let's further discuss on how does sexual reproduction happen through pollination. Pollination is the act of transferring pollen grains from the male anther of the flower to the female stigma. When the pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower, it's called self-pollination. When the pollen grains are transferred from the anther of a flower to the stigma of another flower is called cross-pollination. Pollination is usually brought about the wind, water, or animals. Once a pollen grain enters the stigma, it swells and grows a long tube that travels through the style until it reaches the ovary. The tube releases the sperm cells into the ovule to fertilize the egg cell. The fertilized egg cell and the ovule itself develops into a seed. The ovary then enlarges and thickens its walls to become a fruit. This will be the receptacle for the seeds. These seeds can eventually grow into new plants. So now, let's try this activity. Identify the concept being described in each item. Choose your answers from inside the box below. Number 1. This is a type of reproduction in plants where the male and female parts of the flowers are involved. If your answer is sexual, you are correct. Number 2. This is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the stigma of another flower that belongs to another plant but of the same kind. If your answer is self-pollination, then you are correct. Number 3. It is the male part of the flower. If your answer is stamen, you are correct. Number 4. It consists of two lobes that contain pollen sacs and pollen grains. If your answer is filament, you are correct. Number 5. It refers to the collective term for sepals of a flower. If your answer is calyx, you are correct. Number 6. It is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or a different flower that belongs to the same plant. If your answer is cross-pollination, you are correct. Number 7. It is the female part of the flower. If your answer is pistil, you are correct. Number 8. It refers to all the petals together. If your answer is Corellia, you are correct. Number 9. It contains the female gametes or the sex cells called ovum. If your answer is ovule, you are correct. Last, it is a solan structures at the end of a style. If your answer is stigma, definitely you are correct. Okay class, always remember that a complete flower has the following parts: receptacle, sepals, petals, stamens, and pistil or carpels. Flowers are the attractive parts which are used for reproduction. For your assignment, using other books or the internet, give other example of gymnosperms, and then, do you think other gymnosperms follow the same process? Why or why not? Class, I hope all of you are enjoy and learn a lot in this lesson. See you all in the next meeting. Class dismissed.